Hey guys, and welcome back to the English Shooting live stream. Same place, same time, every single week. Thank you everyone that has been waiting, much appreciated. Of course, the main topic for this evening is going to be talking about the costs of starting shooting in the UK, and I'm going to sort of do two avenues on it. I'm going to do the sort of first, like, just to go and fire a gun, let's just say, and then also looking the costs of getting your licenses, getting your own guns, joining a club, so on and so forth. Where there's a load of other topics as well. Certainly if you've come through from Facebook, you would have seen we're going to be talking about the antiques firearms regulations that have changed. There is a previous video on the channel talking about that, talking about gardener's range again, because there's a very important petition that you all need to sign. We're going to be talking more about the binary triggers and force reset triggers. Of course, I think it was last night there was a video that went out about binary triggers, and a load of people were asking about force reset triggers. So I've done a bit of research on that, and we'll see what the verdict is on that. We're going to also be talking about the increase in dog theft, something that's very close to me, having two dogs at home, and also the shows, the trips this year, all the big events that once COVID has sodded off, we'll be able to get into and enjoy. But the main topic, the cost of shooting. And just to say, as I usually do, any questions you have, any topics you want to talk about, then put them in the comment section below. We'll try and get round to them. It's the same deal as usual. Make sure you hit the like button, make sure you're subscribed if you're not already. So how much does it cost to get into shooting? Well, if you find a club, like, and you know what I'm about to say, like Kentucky Firearms Club, KFC for short. No, not the Colonel. He will sue you if you establish any connection between KFC and Kentucky Firearms Club. But anyway, if you join a club like that, they do a number of guest days. So if you want to go and try shooting, if you just want to get behind a gun and pull a trigger and find out and see what it's like. Let's get that a bit closer, see if I can get my my sexy close-up voice on. If you just want to go and feel what a gun is like to shoot, then you want to get in contact with a club. They are allowed to run guest days where people with no experiences, no licensing, so on and so forth, can just turn up and shoot. Now, the clubs do have to pre-arrange this. They are only allowed 12, and they have to notify, I believe it's the local police force or even the Home Office, that they are doing that. There may be, depending on the club, there may be a small fee. So I'll give you an example. One of the best places to start shooting is actually at university. A lot of universities have clubs, and the university I went to, you paid your £20 membership, and that was your membership for the club for the year. If you went there just for the first freshers shoot, well, you've paid 20 quid to go and shoot a load of guns. That's not really bad. And if you wanted to come back, well, you've already paid your membership. So 20 quid would get you shooting and get you a membership at a university club. Kentucky Firearms Club, of course, if you're not a university, you're not going to be able to go to university clubs. But Kentucky Firearms Club is £50 a year to join. So if you go to one of their guest days, there may be a small range fee, maybe some ammo fee. You're probably talking 20-30 quid all in. And if you want to do it regularly, KFC have club guns, so you don't need to go out and get your licenses. You don't need to go out and get your own guns. You can regularly shoot with a Home Office approved club with their club guns. And Kentucky Firearms Club is only £50. Then if you want to start taking it seriously, and this is all before you even looked at licenses, looked at getting your safe, looked at getting your guns, you can start joining organisations like the UK PSA. That's £50 a year, comes with all sorts of insurances, and you'll be able to go to different events, different matches. And if you want a real experience, like almost, well, it's a maximum of like a 1-on-6 instruction, do a UK PSA safety course. They are around the £160 mark, but you will get 2 full days of tuition. Guns are usually provided, ammo is usually provided, or maybe at a small fee depending on where you go. And you can have a 6-on-1, so it will be 1 instructor, 1 RO to 6 students, and you will get a decent amount of trigger time. So for 160 quid, you get a real good introduction to, say, practical shooting. places like the NRA do say not more structured, but they do more regular introduction and more more tuition, so they can do anything from a day course to 5 days. In my experience, I found them to be particularly expensive. But really, the long and the short of it is, if you've got 20 quid in your pocket, you can pretty much go to most clubs and get some experiences if you're patient and wait for a guest day. For things like clay pigeon shooting, you can go for a one-on-one taster session or instruction with a qualified instructor. They provide the guns, they provide the cartridges, all in one package, and then that will cost you, in the region, depending on where you go, between £70 to £100, and that will be a good hour or 2 hour session. You will come away knowing a lot more than what you did before. It's a wealth of experience. So a lot of people say that shooting is expensive. It's like any hobby, just like with cars. You can go and buy a 500 quid banger, or you can go and buy £5 million pound Chiron Devo. You can make it as expensive as you want, but I think the overarching message straight away for people tempted to get into the sport and maybe put off by costs is that you don't need licenses, you don't need your own safe, you don't need your own guns, you don't need your own ammo. Find a Home Office approved club like Kentucky Firearms Club, and that will see you through whilst you begin to learn the processes, whilst you begin to learn all the different disciplines and get a bit of experience. And it's a requirement anyway if you want to then later go on to your getting your certificates, getting your own guns. Well, you're going to need to be, if you're going down the sport route, a member of a Home Office approved club anyway. So if you're on the fence, if you're umming and ahhing, if you're thinking about it, just go for it. Join a club. Find out, you'll need to find out if the club suits you as well. Yes, you can get maybe, let's say, some fuddy clubs. Unfortunately, I do get a number of messages of people saying, like, look, can you help me out? Can you suggest potentially a new club? Because it's all tweed wearers and they're polishing their single shot bolt action rifles. Nothing wrong with that if that's what you're into. But with practical shooting growing, with AR platform guns becoming ever more popular here in the UK, people want to do more dynamic shooting. They want to do something arguably a little bit more fun. So really, don't let the cost put you off. You can get into it for next to nothing, pay your 50 quid membership, and then just buy ammunition from the club every time you go, and use the club guns that are available to you. I've lost count of how many guns KFC have as for club guns. So you'll have your selection. I think they're very much biased to the 1522. Great minds think alike. So you'll definitely get a good use of 1522s, but of course they're heavily partnered with, well, it's sort of all of the same with Caliber Innovations. So you're going to have Siscars to play around with, which are the 223 straight pulls. They do them in 9mm now, 300 blackout. So all of those will be available to club members as well. I'll take a bit of a pause on the costs there. We go into what are the actual costs of then getting your license, going the next the next step, and applying for your licenses, getting your cabinet security arrangements, and of course buying the guns. That's where things can get particularly expensive, but again, it's going to be as expensive as you want to make it. Well, I did see a number of questions. Thanks, guys. I do try to flip-flop between what's scheduled and what you're asking. I saw somebody was asking about what does a round of 22 LR in bulk cost in the UK. This is actually quite funny for me, because I haven't had, well, going back quickly to you don't need a license to shoot, I haven't had a license for nearly 5 years, over 5 years now. I think it will actually be 5 years the end of March. Doesn't stop me, so no excuse for you guys. But because I don't have a license, I don't actually buy ammunition. It's supplied by a club. It's provided for me usually. So I got out of touch of what the cost of ammunition was. I had quite a nasty shock, really. I think when I first started, like a 1,000 rounds of CCI Mini Mag, which is my go-to ammunition, highly recommend it, super reliable, punchy stuff. I think it was about anywhere between 70 to 80 pound a thousand when I started, and I believe it's around the 90 pound a thousand now, and some places are even charging £100. But that's like super premium stuff. The cheap and dirty, I think it's the Magtech 22. That was in Bluefield Sports, I think for £3.50 or £4.50 a 50. So what does that work? If it was well, that's 70. So even the cheap stuff now is working out at say 60, 70 pound a thousand. But plinking, buying the cheap stuff for plinking, fantastic. For competition, you're gonna gunk up your gun. You're gonna cause yourself issues. You want to use the decent stuff for competition. Any other questions? No Captain Crack yet, although people saying pray for Pappy. I mean, at this point he's past the point of no return. Has he got jiggy with his roommate yet? That's what I want to know. I haven't been on Discord as much recently, so I'm a little out of touch on what's going on, but I'm sure it's interesting to say the least. Let's bring up onlyguns.co.uk and see if Captain Crack has treated us to anything new. No, it's still the old. For those of you that don't know, this is a bit of a running theme, but Captain Crack has let down the side. I might have to remove him as a moderator if he's not keeping up with his duties. Let's bring on the screen share. So Captain Crack was actually responsible for this absolute masterpiece. Can you spot me? More importantly, can you spot Connors? So it's onlyguns.co.uk. He does like to mix it up a little bit, so keep an eye on that. Set it as your home screen. You'll get a nice surprise every now and then with a new image. Anything else you guys want to talk? Stay away from force reset. We're just going to be simply discussing the law, Daniel. There's nothing wrong with discussing what the law is or what the interpretation of the law is. I would never ever condone or advocate people breaking the law. I actually spend a lot of time telling people, don't be silly, don't do something stupid. I mean, there was a big let's get on to the binary triggers a little bit, and we'll come back to the costs of getting your licenses and getting in there. That's sort of a nice segue. Thank you, Daniel. So I'm sure some of you saw there was the video on binary triggers. I was getting a lot of questions about it. It's something that I'd seen, I was aware of, and I just wanted to research myself and really look into. Yeah, they're section 5. There's no doubt about it. You are getting 2 rounds per pull of the trigger. Yes, I know 1 round is on the pull, 1 round is on the release, but that's just not going to fly. You're not going to say, well, it's technically only 1 round for a pull. It's the complete cycle of the gun, and it is completely cycling twice per pull. Between 2 pulls, you're going to be getting 2 rounds, which is over the definition of what a semi-auto is. And whilst it would be pretty cool, I've seen a lot of them on the Ruger 1022s. It would be pretty cool to have one in a 1522 for a bit of fun, but it's not like we can have 223 or 9mm semi-autos anyway. So we would literally be getting binary triggers for 2.2s. So I guess in some way it's cheaper than maybe doing it for 2.23s, but the real fun has to be the 2.23s, the 9mm. But yeah, forced reset. It's something that I'd heard of previously, and I actually found, I was on this video today. I'll bring it up for you guys. It's a company called Rare Breed Triggers, and funnily enough, the mechanics of this I don't think is as clear cut as let's find. They do a beautiful breakdown. So if you want to go and check these guys out, it's rarebreedtriggers.com. And this is on their homepage, and it shows you exactly how the trigger works. Now you can see here, this is a standard AR-15 mil-spec trigger. That's going to look pretty familiar to all of you guys. And then this is the force reset. Let's get to it, and it shows you how it cycles. And it's really, really smart. Like, it's like genius levels of inventiveness and being innovative, and basically, I'll see if I can sort of do it slow-mo. Like the hammer's gonna come. Now you can't see the mouse on this, so the hammer's gonna come down, resets the trigger, and then that green bit then force the trigger into your finger. So if you are holding your finger there and you're holding it like, let's say it's a full auto, it's going to push your finger away, but because you're then still pressuring it, you're going to then pull the trigger. And that's a really crap explanation. If you want to hear a decent explanation of it, again, Rare Breed Triggers, go and check it out. And the definition again of a non-semi, or the definition of a semi-auto in the UK is 1 round per pull of the trigger. So you've pulled the trigger and then it's pushed it forward for you, but because you're still pressing trigger, because you're still applying force on that trigger, you're naturally going to bring it back. So in a way, I want to say it's almost like a bump fire trigger. I think that's probably the best way to describe it. But you are, in terms of the essence of the law, you are depressing that trigger every single time. So you are still getting 1 shot per pull of the trigger. The trigger is just helping you a little bit. And because of the definition of what a semi-auto is in the UK, and I'm going to say straight away, please, no one buy one. Like I can, and I'll get into why, and I'm thinking of doing a full video on this. In terms of the letter of the law here in the UK, I can't actually see why they would be Section 5 if they are used in a semi-auto 2.2. However, and this will be sort of the main point of the of the video that I end up doing on them, is there's something in the law called the spirit of the law, and this is an unfortunate catch-all for our justice system, for the police, which is if you do something that is technically within the law, but everyone sort of knows you're doing it to get around the law, and it's not in the spirit of what the law means, they can still prosecute you. And this is where, well, maybe not prosecute, but there's certainly action they can take. You're not going to be squeaky clean, and you don't need a criminal record to lose your FAC. So if you were to be found with one of these in the UK and you're an FAC holder, they're most likely going to quote spirit, not in the spirit of the law, and that's at least enough for you to lose your FAC, and you will most likely end up in front of a judge trying to justify why this is legal. And I'll show you exactly what the police would end up showing the judge in court. They're going to show this little bit of the video. Let's let me get to it. Come on, internet, you can do it. This is all US laws. Let's go maybe to the, actually there's a brilliant bit of it working, so I'll just play it out from the beginning. So all they're going to show in court, right, is this footage, right? And I know you can't hear it, but you can certainly see that that looks certainly more full auto. Oh, now it's him. Come on, I want to see it shooting. You can see that this is more like full auto, and any judge or any jury is most likely going to side to them. So even if it is within the law, if the jury finds you guilty, the jury finds you guilty. So it's definitely not something you want to play with. And here you can actually see it force resetting, pushing the trigger finger back. So it does almost look semi-auto, but the rates of fire absolutely not semi-auto. Although it technically is, it's very, very fast, very much like a binary trigger. But it's a funny one, and this is why it can be sometimes a little bit difficult being into shooting sports within the UK, is there are oodles of grey areas upon grey areas, where if you interpret the law one way, you can do some things, but then the police may interpret it a different way, and you just end up in this like, well, no, this is what I think it means, and they're going, well, no, this is what we think it means, and you end up having to prove it out in court. And I would highly recommend no one ever going into court to try and prove a point, because you never know what's going to happen. So anyway, it is fascinating. It is, I mean, I think it's absolutely ingenious what those guys have done. And obviously this is getting, this is with the banning of bump fires in the US. Of course, bump fire stocks were banned here in the UK. This is, I think, again, another prime example of spirit of the law, which is up until the Offensive Weapons Bill came into effect, which I think was the 16th of May 2020 or 2019. I get confused. It all seems to all seems to fly by, really. So bump fire stocks were technically legal within the UK. Again, if you were caught down the range and the police, well, all the police would have to do is show somebody using a bump fire stock and go, yeah, this isn't spirit of the law, right? Why do you need this mechanism for sport shooting? At the end of the day, in the UK, it's very different. We have to justify every gun that we have, and putting a bump fire stock on a Ruger 1022 that you use for gallery shooting or mini rifle or bunny bashing, try and justify why you need a bump fire stock on it. And again, it becomes spirit of the law. They can say, look, you're taking the piss here. I think at the very least you would have lost your FAC if you were caught with a bump fire stock. Of course, they now are completely outlawed. They are named within the Offensive Weapons Bill. Not that I don't think I've ever seen or ever heard of somebody having one here in the UK. So were they really a threat? I don't know. But anyway, there's it really, trying to apply something that's to obviously circumvent laws out in the state to see if they would, in theory, work here is an interesting practice. But again, I want to caveat: don't be an idiot. Don't try and buy one or bring one back. You will end up in a lot of trouble. It's really not worth it. And trust me, I've previously spent 5 hours in customs because I was traveling with somebody. I didn't actually have any. I had a few gun parts on me, but the guy I was traveling with had like 2 suitcases full, and he had handguards and triggers and speed loaders and, like, again, all perfectly buy off the shelf, like a 5-year-old could literally go and buy off the shelf here. Nothing controlled, nothing licensed. He had his FAC, but the customs didn't know what they were looking at, and they were like, we could be letting you through here with parts for an MP5, and they didn't say specifically MP5, but a full auto machine gun, an assault rifle, or you could be transporting parts for a water pistol. We don't know. And the reason we spent 5 hours there is because it took 5 hours, unfortunately, for counter-terrorism to come down and take one glance at the bag of bits that we had, and they were like, yeah, cool, let them go, this is groovy. So yeah, don't, word of warning for you traveling with gun parts, make sure you've got enough time on the other end of the airport for any potential issues, because it will happen. Mum has joined. Yes, Mum, the internet is a lot better this evening. I now have a complete process for. We did have some issues last week and the week before. I think I've nailed it. Touch wood. Touch wood. It seems to be pretty stable. I don't know how it is. Again, guys, if there's any other issues, like, just fire them in the comments section, and I'll try and sort them out. But I hope I'm crystal clear, and you can see me, and I'm looking pretty as always. But yeah, let's have a look at your Daniel, please, for the love of God, no. Look, I'm not advocating anyone does anything bad here. We're just talking about whether it honeypot. No, we're talking about whether it would be, and whether it is or isn't spirit of the law. I don't think it's something you need to be messing with. Can the mod stop airgun and toy gun posting? This was supposed to be a firearms channel. No, this is a shooting channel, and I don't care if you're shooting an air gun, an air pistol, or a water pistol. If you're pulling a trigger, you're shooting, and I will help anyone pursue any form of shooting sports apart from target rifle, because we already have a bad reputation for being boring, and really target rifle doesn't help the side out, does it? We're gonna get a load of love for that one. What you talking? David Hunt, he doesn't know what he's talking about. It wouldn't be the first time someone's told me that, if that's directed at me. You're always welcome to debate. Very British. Have you heard of the Providence rifle? It's basically a double action rifle. The trigger pulls back the bolt and then sends it forward. Yeah, so I did a bit of research. That was something that came up on the comment section of the binary trigger. Again, I think that is actually, well, obviously it's made for the American market. It's meant to get around, you know, assault rifle bans and things like that. But I think it's down to the letter of the law in the US in terms of what a semi-auto is, in terms of extracting and then chambering a new round within one motion. And obviously the Providence, as far as I understand it, breaks that cycle, so it technically doesn't conform to being a semi-auto. The thing is, as far as I'm aware, with semi-auto law in the UK, it's defined as one projectile being fired per pull of the trigger, which the Providence, is it Providence? Is that how it's pronounced? Pretty sure. Anyway, I'm dyslexic as fuck. What else do you expect? With the Providence, I'm going to call it the Providence. That's what it's called from now on, if that's not how it's pronounced. It's still one round per pull of the trigger. Certainly with the offensive weapons bill and lever releases and Mars release, the Mars action rifle being banned, the wordings that they've now slipped in within the firearms law because of those, I'm pretty sure it would come under those. They're, you know, after banning the Mars and lever release, they're going to be incredibly hot on these sorts of mechanisms. I think, like, I don't object to them doing it, but I think Southern Gun Company are treading a very fine line with the underlever rifle. Like, fair play. Like, look, I'm sure we're all in agreement that we should probably have semi-auto full-bore rifles back, and should certainly have handguns back, seeing as still 40% of all firearms crime is attributed to handguns, even though we banned them. You know, what does that say? But anyway, I digress. We all think that semi-automatic full-bore rifles should be legal. Again, I've forgotten where I was going with that. I just went on a tangent. I think it's the jungle juice. Yeah, fine line with Southern Gun Company. So they're going to be very hot on things like this. And whilst, yeah, it's sort of like a, look, stop banning these mechanisms because we're going to come up with new ones. We're going to always find a way, you know, nature finds a way and all that. And unfortunately, how do you restrict the underlever AR? Well, you either ban ARs or you ban underlevers. That's not a good situation for us to be. Now, again, I fully support them in what they're doing. They are treading finely within the letter of the law, but doing so very, very well. That's what they did with the straight pulls, with the lever releases. But it's a dangerous game to play, because the Mars and the lever releases were fairly easy to ban in terms of how you describe them or how you define them within the letter of the law. Banning specifically an underlever ARs, again, like, how, you know, unless you say an AR platform with an underlever, you know, mechanism, that's potentially what they could do. But you know that they're going to go full bang. They're going to try and get rid of ARs. They're going to try and get rid of underlevers. And I don't know, they seem to surprise me all the time with all the sort of nonsense new suggestions they come up with. I wouldn't be surprised if at some point we see a rate of fire limit. Like, I mean, it would have been helpful with the Mars and lever release to define exactly what rate of fire for a full bore rifle is too fast, but I would love for them to define what a sort of a maximum rate of fire, possible rate of fire a gun can have to be legal in the UK, and for someone to Mad Minute and a Lee Enfield and just show them up. We just need to get Jerry over. Here's showing what's up. Anyway, Alex, what do you think of the new legislation banning independent use of an air rifle by an under 18? There is actually a full video on that on the channel already. So that is the new firearm safety consultation. There's a number of different things within that, but the main one being that at the moment under 18s can unsupervised used air rifles, and well, I think it's something like from 14 to 18 year olds or 16 to 18 year olds can do it at the moment, and they want rid of that because there was one kid that was two friends, two young boys, one ended up shooting the other one accidentally, and then it's like, well, if we had banned this, it wouldn't have happened. again, like 40% of firearms crime that is still being committed with firearms that are heavily restricted into Section 5. So you'd think they would learn the lesson on that one. Is the fact that you can't, that an under 18 can no longer use an air rifle unsupervised, going to actually stop under 18s from using air rifles being unsupervised? No. Because and I think I made this point in the video, like, you need to teach, if you're going to let your children go out with a gun, as a parent, you need to teach them properly. You need to teach them the golden rules. You need to make sure that they have the maturity and respect for an even just an air rifle. I know a load of Americans are going to go, I let my son out with a 223 AR at the age of 14. Things are different here. So with an air rifle or any gun, you need to make sure they're up to it if they're going to be unsupervised. And I think not necessarily mandatory, but more education, more training, more ranges, shooting at schools, and no, not like that. Having ranges in schools again, having shooting on the curriculum potentially would have stopped that from happening, because at a young age they would have been taught firearm safety. So I really don't think it's going to achieve anything. Let's use another unfortunate air rifle death, which was a granddad. A granddad ended up shooting, I think their grandson, accidentally again, and he was over the age of 18. So unfortunately we live in a world now where accidents aren't allowed to happen, and something happens and everyone's like, well, we've got to stop this. Unfortunately, life kills everyone at the end of the day, but accidents do happen, and it is a fine, delicate line to say when there's too many accidents happening, or when something is, let's say, within an acceptable limit. I really don't think it's going to change, because the same shitbags that are going to be going out and shooting cats and purposely shooting their friends are still going to be little shitbags. And the fact that they're little shitbags probably means their parents are bigger shitbags, and they're still going to let them, roam the streets with air rifles. Unfortunately, again, the law-abiding citizens, the sensible, upstanding people of this country will abide by the law. It will be all the, all the shitbags, still causing all the problems. So yeah, I really don't think it's going to achieve much. It would be nice if Basque maybe gave it a bit more of a push. I mean, that consultation, as we've already discussed on a previous live stream, only got 12,000 responses, and that's not all just shooters. That's a mixture of antis, police, shooters, so on and so forth. And at the last count, there's 250, 200,000 FAC holders. At the last count, there was something like, I think it's around 2 or 3 million airgun owners, and the fact that we only had 12,000 responses, it's not good. Thank you very much, Rich Weston, towards the bar bill at the English Shooting Summer Party. I'm drinking Sainsbury's own brand. You will be incredibly surprised how much beer you can get for that. But thank you very much, much appreciated. We will try and do a meetup after COVID with clay range. Probably the clay range is the easiest to do, because in terms of licensing, in terms of the law, as long as the what is it? I think it's the 7.2 or 7.4 exemption. Basically, there's a certain exemption within law that clay grounds can get to allow people without licenses to be able to shoot there. So we'll find a ground that can do that, and we'll try and have a meetup at somewhere. Luckily, I do know a couple of clay grounds, and might be able to sweet talk my way in. But anyway, I'll get back onto, for anyone that's wanting to hear Bisley and throughout Hampshire. Oh, you're talking amongst yourselves. There we go. Or just to say, KFC as in Kentucky Firearms Club, whereabouts are they based? So Sinner Simon has Sinner Simon. That's what you should change your username to. Yes, Bisley is the main place where Kentucky Firearms Club shoots. There is a night shoot at the end of August coming up over at Sevenside. I missed the last one, but there's actually some footage on Outdoor Technica if you want to go and see what they get up to. It's a night shoot. Like, you use your imagination. It's going to be pretty cool. Campfires, tents, all that proper shooting sleepover. And yeah, so they shoot up at Sevenside by Wales. They have used what's it called, Spitfire Playground in Stockbridge down sort of in the Hampshire area, or is it Wiltshire? There's talks of a potential new range, but I won't say any more than that. They also shoot down in Gosport. There's a playground down there by Leon Solent, or in Leon Solent. So they shoot all over the south coast, but primarily it's in Bisley. So anyway, back onto the costs of, you know, getting your license, getting into shooting, getting you know, the next step. So we've covered earlier in the stream that, well, to actually go and experience some shooting. Oh, I've got to give a shout out, of course, if you want to go and try, if you're up north, the Phoenix Shooting Centre, Phoenix Range. Oh, what's their full name? If you type in Phoenix Shooting Range, Barnsley, it will come up with Phoenix. I've been there personally. Glenn, who owns and runs it, is a fantastic bloke. He is just one of the most passionate people that I've come across in terms of getting new people into the sport. So he does sort of pay and play taster sessions. You can go and shoot a 2.2 semi-auto along with a number of other guns, and I think his sort of packages start from around the £30-40 mark. So that's one. Is it Double Juice shooting range? I think they're around the Birmingham area, if I'm not mistaken. Again, they do a very similar setup. I've heard loads of good things about them. Of course, if you want to be mugged off, you can go to Silverstone Shooting Centre. No more on that. There's loads of places you can go in and try shooting for the first time for not a lot of money. So going and trying it, don't be worried about the cost. It won't be as expensive as you think. But obviously, you go and fire your first gun, you're going to want your certificates. That's what everyone says. Although I think this meme, actually, I put it up on the English Shooting Facebook page earlier this week. It got a lot of reaction, which it made me chuckle. That's why I posted it. So if you want to know what is going to happen when you fire your first gun, this meme pretty much sums it up. Let's bring that up for you guys. No, that's not it. That's a blank screen. This is literally what happens. The first gun I shot, first live fire gun I shot, was a clay pigeon ground. No, sorry, tell a lie. First live fire gun I fired was it was actually an Anschwitz 2.2 target rifle, and it, like, again, in terms of excitement, in terms of dynamic shooting, it's not the most, but it was like, you pull that trigger and you see that hole in the paper, you're like, oh, I'm hooked. And then they started bringing out the Winchester underlevers, 357 Magnum. They had a black powder pistol. Actually, the first video on this channel is actually that black powder pistol as well. And then they brought out the Colt M422. Not a good semi-automatic rifle, 2.2 rifle, but still, for someone that had never fired live guns until that point, it was like, Jesus Christ, like how, when, gimme. And then 6 months later, had my shotgun certificate. Another 6 months later after that, after completing probational membership, I had my firearms certificate, and it was just all downhill from there. But anyway, how much does it cost to actually get into shooting? Well, let's just talk specifically about the sports route, the sports shooting route. You're going to join a club, and as we talked about earlier, you're going to be looking as low as, say, 20 quid for a university club. Most clubs are going to be around the 50 to 60 pound mark. Some can be upwards of 100 quid, but they're either in the centre of London, or they are big clubs. Or again, if you're Silverstone Shooting Centre, you charge your members £700 a year for shooting like 4 days a week. But anyway, moving on. Sorry, I've got something in my eye. It's probably John Thorne. It's a thorn in my eye. So getting membership of a club, that's not something to be worried about. 50 quid, Kentucky Firearms Club. Jesus, I'm going to end up crying in a minute. So don't worry about that. So that's the first thing to go and do. And everyone always asks, what do I have to do? Like, where do I start? Join a club, join a club, join a club. Every bloody time it's join a club, 50 quid, get in there. Now, you're going to have to obviously, you know, pay like some range fees. These can range from anywhere between, you know, 10 and 20 quid. I mean, the KFC, the Kentucky Firearms Club matches, they do them as cheap sometimes as say 30 quid to go and do, you know, equivalent to say like a level 2 IPSC match. That's a whole day of shooting for 30 quid. In terms of ammunition, well, on a typical match, you might get through a slab of, say, shotgun ammunition down the clay ground. Let's say practical, you're going to get through maybe half a slab. You're talking 50 quid in ammunition. So 30 quid for a match, for a club match, and then maybe 50 quid for ammunition for that day. So it does start to rack up, but maybe if you do that once a month. Clay pigeon shooting, it's what used to be when I used to go, like 35p a clay. So you do 100 clays, you're talking £35 for the clays, and again you're talking what, like 25 quid, 25 quid's worth of ammunition. So you can do a round of 100 clays for like 50 quid once you've got your license. So in terms of club shooting, it's not particularly expensive. They're going to give you good rates on the ammunition because they buy them in bulk, and you'll probably find you'll be able to go to a club shoot, just a normal club shoot, no competition, and come away having fired a few hundred rounds for £20-30 a go. And all you need to do is do that a couple of times a month to become a full member. Then you can apply for your firearms license. Now, this is where costs can vary. The set price of what the certificate application cost, well, at the moment, and I've got it here because I always forget it, there's something called a coterminous, which is if you're going for a firearms certificate, I would highly recommend you go for a coterminous because you get the shotgun certificate as well. And they haven't got it. Where's the coterminous fee? That would teach me to be prepared. Coterminous certificates, here we go. So it's £90, right? So £90 is your application fee. That's good for 5 years, and then the renewal for a coterminous is again this website is, and it's Hampshire, it is so unclear. So a renewal of a coterminous certificate is £65. The initial grant is £90, and then you have, and if you just want to go for, say, a shotgun certificate, those are £79.50 for initial, and for a firearms certificate is £88. So this is why it's worth going for a coterminous. If you're going for a firearms certificate, for an extra £2 you get a shotgun certificate. It's a no-brainer. And to renew a firearms certificate on its own is £62. To renew a shotgun certificate is £49. You do then have to get your GP medical form filled out. Now, this varies massively. Again, there's a whole video on this in terms of the cost of where you can go. Mine ended up costing £50 or £60, and that was my local GP. Some GPs do it free. There's also shotgun medicals, which I think is £50, and then there's Medicert, which I think is slightly more. Again, they're all around that sort of price, so you're not talking a huge amount. In total, I would budget for the application process with a coterminous certificate, I would budget around £150, but that will see you through for 5 years. So spread over 5 years, you're talking £30 a year. It's not a lot. Again, a day down the range pays per year or pro rata, whatever you want to do it, will pay for your certificates. Axis, thank you very much. S bags. When I was a kid, S bags. Are you asking what a shit bag is? Because it's not very nice. Just imagine a bag of shit. It's just not very nice. I was a kid. When I was a kid, I used to shoot each other with air rifles and fireworks all the time. It's just called growing up on a farm. Only 12 foot-pounds though. No. Like, just because you did it and have lived to tell the tale, doesn't mean it's a good idea. Yes, you make mistakes when you're younger. Yes, you hopefully learn from your mistakes. that's not an approach that I could necessarily advocate. But I mean, yeah, you are here to tell the tale. You maybe are a little bit wiser. Fortunately, I've never been shot at with anything other than an airsoft gun during skirmishing, or a paintball gun, or a Nerf gun. Is that right? Yeah, just BBs, Nerfs, and paintballs. But a 12-foot-pound gun can still be lethal. You know, it's not something that I would volunteer to be shot by any stretch of the imagination. But anyway, so but yeah, appreciate your support and your donation. That's I think you're very lucky. I would go and buy a lottery ticket. You made it this far. So that's we're talking about 150 quid budgeting for the application for a core terminus. You can maybe keep it to around £100 if you just want to go for the firearm certificate or just the shotgun certificate. But again, I would strongly advise if going for everything all at once, or if you're waiting to become a full member somewhere, go for your shotgun certificate in the meantime, which is exactly what I did. Security is going to be a big part as well. You need up to date and up to scratch security. Security is actually probably one of the cheapest parts of owning a gun. But if you're going to only have a few guns, a Bratton Sound safe will do more than fine. I picked up, I think it was like a 10 or 12, maybe 14 gun safe, something. The Bratton Sound always, I think it's advertised as a 10 to 12, and like I can fit like 15 guns in it. So, you know, I guess under promise and over deliver. But I got that second hand. I ended up meeting at a service station car park and transferred it into the back of my car. I think I paid something like 100 quid for it, and it was a £200-300 safe new. So, you know, 100 quid will get you a safe, and I would recommend getting a safe rather than a cabinet, certainly if you're looking at getting firearms, because a shotgun cabinet won't necessarily be up to scratch for firearms. You want something with bolts that go across, and the Bratton Sounds have huge bolts that go across. But keep an eye on the forums, keep an eye on Facebook Marketplace, on eBay, on Gumtree. You will say, well, let's put it to the test. I am ready to eat my words as usual. Let's try like Gumtree, right? Pretty innocuous website. You wouldn't necessarily expect to find gun bits on there, but let's have a look. Let's accept that. Go away. Let's go gun safe. I really don't want to put in my postcode, so I'll put in my old halls. So if you want to go and stalk my old halls, you're more than welcome. That's disappointing. Where's the search? Well, that's probably why. Let's go nationwide search now. So look, there we go. All right, that's a cabinet. There's a cabinet. Gun safe. Gun cabinet. Gun safe. Is that a Bratton Sound? That looks more like a cabinet to me. That looks like a cabinet to me as well. But you get the general idea, right? I've just like literally 2 seconds and I found a. See, that's perfect. That does still look more cabinet than safe, and obviously it's seen better days. I personally again would want the big bolts, but that may do. You may want to talk to your FEO whether they would find it suitable. But look, 65 quid. You've got the separate ammunition safe, which you need for firearms. You need to store the ammunition separately, and there you go. You've got your starter safe for 65 quid. So plenty of stuff available. Let's go have a look on eBay. Obviously this one. Let's go gun safe. So you get the general idea. It's really like people worry about the security. Like, don't. I mean, look, you can go on here, a brand new, free postage, delivered to your door, like 100 to 140 quid. But let's go used and see what bargains. They're going to end up buying a safe, aren't I? I've already got 2 that don't have anything in. Why not a third? I mean, if you want to like push the boat out, you know, 400 quid, buy it now for a beefy safe. And I would, in the interest of saving money, always buy a safe bigger than what you think you need. Trust me. Unless they come and take all the guns away, and then you don't need any. But anyway, but you get the general idea. General idea. Don't worry about like the security aspect. For a few amount of guns, just a safe will do. I will do a video at some point in terms of installation and security measures. It would be beneficial to have an alarm. It's never going to hurt the application, but you don't need to go all out and have a brand new system fitted. You can get something that is maybe just a sensor in the room with a with an audible alarm. You can also buy 25 quid monitored cameras, you know, motion censored cameras that notify you if there's motion. Sticking a few of those around the house, 25 quid a pop, is going to really help and show that to the FEO that you're taking it seriously. So what we're at, you know, 50 quid to join a club, 150 quid all in medical and getting your certificates. Let's say 75 quid to get you safe. That is enough to then get your certificates, right? And then of course getting the guns. Well, whilst I always say don't buy necessarily the cheapest thing going out there, I know there's a lot of people out there on budgets, right? But secondhand, you can pick up, let's say, you know, the most popular type of gun here, the 2.2 semi-auto. You can pick up a Ruger 1022 for like sub 100 quid. You can pick up some older version 1522s for like 200-300 quid now on sites like Gun Trader, Gunstar. So, you know, a couple of £100 for your first gun for a say a semi-auto 2.2. You can even go and get a decent over and under for like 300 to 500 quid. I always, this was a number of years ago, but I ended up buying so my friend could use it, a gun. It was a Zabala, and we literally walked in. It's in Portsmouth Gun Centre, and I walked in. I said, look, I'm sick and tired of my mate using my Silver Pigeon when we go out. I want a gun that is going to be on my license. I'm buying it, and I'm just going to keep it in the safe for him to be able to go. You know, when we go, I'll give it to him, and he can have his own gun. Let's just say, and I literally said, look, 200 quid, what do you have? And he disappeared out the back. If you ever want to visit Portsmouth Gun Centre, don't just think what's out on the front is what they have. He has bloody hundreds of guns out the back. Went rummaging for 5 minutes and came back with this Zabala. And yeah, the wood wasn't as nice. Yeah, the gun didn't feel as nice, but it shot just like the Silver Pigeon. It's shot just like a 15, well now like £1,700 gun. 200 quid. Can't go wrong with that, really. So it's as expensive as you want to make it. We talked earlier about someone asking about what ammunition costs. Well, you know, budget say £60 to £80 for 2.2 ammunition per 1,000. If you're going down the range, I know some people go, oh, I can do 1,000 rounds in 5 minutes. I'm sure you can, but if you're just getting into it, a couple of 100 rounds every session is gonna suffice, right? You're still gonna have a good time. You're gonna get some experience with the gun. So 1,000 rounds, that's 5 sessions, say 80 quid. You're gonna be talking, let me math. What's that, like 14 pound? Was it? What's 80 divided by 5? 16 pound a go in ammunition for say 200 rounds. And did you see the smoke then? It's late. I've had a beer, all right. So and shotgun cartridges, I mean, yeah, £200, 1,000 is pretty good stuff. You can get cheaper stuff. You can still buy, you know, 1,000 cartridges for 160 quid. Well, 1,000 cartridges, if you shoot 100 clays a go, that's 10 visits to the clay ground. You go once a month, that's almost a year. So the overarching message of this evening for anyone thinking of getting in or maybe put off by the cost, it's not that expensive, and it's also not at once. You know, you go and get your shotgun medical, you become a member of a club, that's 50 quid. Well, you're gonna have to wait 3 or 6 months until you can apply. So you spend your 50 quid, you wait 3 months, save up 150 for your medical and for your application fee. Well, it's going to be, well, if you live in Hampshire, it's going to be anywhere between 3 months and 30 years to get your license. But you're going to have, let's say, 3 to 6 months at least until you get the certificate. So you've got a few more months again to put 100 or 200 quid aside. Of course, you need the safe during the application, but as we've seen, that's another 60 quid. It's going to take a month or two for them to come and do the inspection anyway. So you've got a month or two to get hold of 60 quid to put the safe in. And then it will be another couple of months before you get your license. Again, a couple of months to put 100, 200 quid away to go and get your first gun. Yes, eye pro, ear pro, but you can get some foamies. You can buy some 5 quid, bollies. I think they are off of Amazon for eye pro. You don't need to turn up to the range in the most plush tweed in the world. You don't need all 511 tactical gear. Trust me, and much to David's dismay, I pretty much, well, what I am wearing right now, and no, I'm not going to get up and do a 12 for you guys. You worry me enough as it is. My typical shooting gear is a gilet, a standard t-shirt, nothing fancy. What is it? A gun? Oh yeah, I'm wearing my the Pew Pew Life t-shirt. Oh, you can't see it there. Pew Pew Life, big up Mr. Curleon Noir. So funnily enough, I am actually wearing a shooting t-shirt today, but any sort of t-shirt and jeans and trainers, like that's pretty much what I wear any day of the week, and that's what I turn up to the range with. Anyway, that's really about it. It's not that expensive. It's not that difficult. You shouldn't be scared. You shouldn't put it off. Get into it. Join a club. Join a club now. Get in contact with KFC. Get in contact with the the Phoenix shooting range, or the Phoenix range in Barnsley. They have a Home Office approved club there. So those are 2 clubs either end of the country that I can highly recommend. Just get it done. Anyway, I'm sure you guys have been asking loads of questions. I've just been rabbiting on, but I hope that helps. I hope people find that useful. And if you do at any point, if anyone has any questions, I always say I'm not always the quickest. I'm sure anyone that's tried to get in contact with me at some point, it can take me a little while to get back to people. That's unfortunately due to the just volume of messages and emails that come through, but I do my best to get back to every single one. And if you've got a question, if you're stuck to where to go, please drop an email, or get in contact with the UK PSA, get in contact with Kentucky Firearms Club. There's loads of people here within the UK that's going to help you out, and I know it's just about finding the right people first. Aussie capitalists always need a bigger safe. Yes, just think, if you go, right, I think I'm going to have 10 guns, get a 30 gun safe. Just whatever number you think you're going to need, get triple it. Because it only took me, I think, about 18 months before I bought the second safe. So it happens quicker than your bank balance would like. I'm just imagining, oh, you're talking about very British. My FEO told me I can store as many shotguns in my cabinet as I want, as long as I can close and lock the door. Funnily enough, that's exactly what what my FEO and I had a discussion about. Just a quick thank you, Mr. E30. I did see your hi earlier, so hi, thank you very much for the donation. I was going to give you a shout out earlier, but I just rabbit on. But what else is new? But yeah, appreciate it. Drink fund. I thought it said drunk fund. Maybe it's the drink. I don't know. But appreciate it. Thank you very much. But yeah, we're talking about yeah. So this is another thing I'll probably do. The series that I'm doing at the moment, for anyone that's been watching the channel for a while, the sort of the process of getting your firearms certificate, because I'm going through it at the moment. Unfortunately, I'm sort of on pause at the moment. I've made as much of the series as I can, because the next step is the interview, and I very much want to try. I know I'm probably not their favourite person in the world, or actually I know I'm not their favourite person in the world after previously being described otherwise as my name, but the otherwise, other than my name, you know what I mean. It's been a long day. Basically, the interview, I will try and liaise with Hampshire and see if they want to maybe like video it, whether they they want to work with me to sort of show. It's one of these things that is sort of shrouded in mystery. No one's ever really documented what an interview is, how it goes and what the general gist is. And I would absolutely love to work with Hampshire to show that process, to show what is asked and show the general things that they're, well, maybe not what they're looking for, because they maybe not want to tell that, but the sort of things that are going to be discussed. And at the end of the day, a lot of it is a negotiation. You are going to want to apply for everything you want, and sort of their job is maybe to rein you back a little. But it's a negotiation, and sometimes, you know, always be polite, always be courteous, and never be rude to them. They're just doing their job. But you sometimes need to, what's the right choice of words? You sometimes need to stand firm, right? If you've got the justification, if you know what you're asking for is completely justified, and they're not so happy, then you want to say, look, I've got all the justification. What other reason? You know, and you get into a bit of discussion. And this happened with me during the not the revocation, that's a completely different discussion. During my variation, that the FEO came round, and he was like, you haven't got enough room in your safe for what you're asking for. And I was like, look, and this is when I had the two safes. I said, look, I had the same discussion last time with the previous FEO. They actually restricted me from what I wanted, and you can see I can fit more. There's still more room in that space, in that safe, and this safe is even bigger, and I'm not even asking for double. So I can, trust me, I can fit them in there. And he said, look, okay, I've said my piece. I personally think you're going to struggle, but at the end of the day, we're the one giving you the firearm certificate. It is your responsibility to make sure that all guns are securely locked up at night. And if they don't, and if one goes missing, you're going to be the one that's going to be answering for it. So there is obviously a huge amount of trust, and they understand that. And at the end of the day, they're trusting you to use these guns safely, to own these guns safely and responsibly, so they can extend that trust out to not having more, not having guns left out lying about, and that they are secure. So you sometimes get into that sort of discussion with them. I think I've confused you when I said with firearms, I meant at the firearms department. Did you? I'm easily confused. Or maybe you're talking to someone else. I don't know. It's hard to keep track of what you guys are talking about. Philip, I go to the Phoenix range, brilliant club. Yeah, absolutely. I am in talks with Glenn about going up there. Obviously, COVID complicates that. I mean, it is work. I mean, I would be going up there to film videos for the promotion of his business, and English shooting isn't necessarily a business, but it is sort of part of what I do in a business sense. So I think I could easily justify going up there, but being able to justify it and be sort of wanting to go and do that, I don't know. But we'll see. I will at some point when lockdown is lifted, we'll be going up north. We'll be going into Scotland even. I've had a number of very generous offers, from a bit of rough shooting out there to going to a few target ranges, going up to the Gardeners range as well. So I will do a bit of a northern tour at some point later in the year. Very much looking forward to it, and I'll show you what Phoenix Range is all about. But yeah, brilliant place, and can't get behind. I'm not going to say that. I can't recommend. How do I not say something that you guys are just going to take out of context? I can't recommend Phoenix enough, and I can't commend Glenn enough for what he does. To all the soon-to-be shooters in chat, a very important tip on firearm security: make sure you can hide your keys. Hide it behind tiles, under floorboards, in a bolted safe, and such. Yes, it's one of the main things about security. Only the FAC holder or SGC holder should know where the keys are, and they should be out of sight. And some FEOs will be sneaky with you. They will go, so where do you keep your keys then? Right? And you think, oh, it's the FEO, I can tell him. And you go, oh, it's in this cupboard here. And they're like, most do it as a bit of a test, and it will put the shits up you because you think, oh no, I've just lost my application. But it's better that they catch you out than somebody else. I've also heard of even sort of sneakier FEOs that have sort of
dropped round when the FAC holder wasn't in, or they've turned up when the FAC holder wasn't in, and you know the wife or partner has opened the door, and you know the FE goes, well, you know, can you let me into the safe? And they go, oh yeah, I know where the keys are. Yeah, that's a no. Only the certificate holder should know where the keys are and hide them in a safe place. You don't need to put the keys in somewhere like Fort Knox, but you just need to imagine if someone breaks into your house, you need to make sure that the last thing that they find are the keys to your gun safe, and that's about it. And there's a really old, it would take me ages to find, but there's a really old post on English Shooting where somebody showed basically how good safes are and what they prevent. And it's opportunists, right? It's people, you know, people that break into the house for jewelry, for valuables, and they find a gun safe there and they give it a bit of a go with a crowbar. That's what you're ultimately trying to prevent. If someone knows the safe's there, knows the guns that are there, and they want them, safes don't, you know, they're not impenetrable. Certainly not, you know, without spending thousands or tens of thousands of pounds. Thank you very much, Wonderhovis, Wonderloaf. Appreciate that. CZ pistols are the best pistols. Don't at me. I also love English. This is definitely some sort of dare or bet from Discord. I can smell it a mile off. Also, I love English Gary and Amari Welsh Daniel. It's not Daniel. We need to respect her pronouns. It's Daniela. For those of you that don't know, a very dear friend, previously called Daniel Smerald, has made the very brave and courageous decision to come out as a transgendered woman. She would like to be referred now as Daniela. So if you see her on the range, it's Daniela Smerald. I mean, it's going to get a little bit awkward out in Kentucky now, because we were going to Top and Tail. But I will respect her boundaries. I'll go sleep on the sofa and give her the privacy and respect that she deserves. I did actually see Daniela here. You haven't actually changed your email. It is your username. It is still saying Daniel. So Daniela, you might want to get might want to get round to that. Yes, and for anyone that wants to know what gender Daniela identifies as, it's a binary trigger. But yeah, all the support, Daniela. It's all the best to you. But yeah, it's all fun and games. Just a quick reminder. Like 110 people watching and 60 likes. Hit the like button if you're watching. If you're sticking around watching, like obviously you're probably all gonna just fuck off now. But if you're here watching, hit the like button, because why else are you watching? Unless you're a masochist and you just like watching things you don't enjoy. So hit the like button. It does help. It helps beat the YouTube algorithm. And certainly tonight we're all about helping explain and maybe demystify getting into shooting and the costs. So, you know, new people are going to watch this. We want people to be able to see it, as many people as possible. Axis, what are your it's not Axis, it's Axes or whatever. What are your personal feelings on use of firearms for home defense, irrespective of the law? Yeah, that's not a question we go into. It's not a dislike. No. Yeah, that's not a question for historic reasons that I approach that much, or yeah. Anyway, just need to. There's a lot I would like to say, but I know it will be taken out of context and used against me. I support being able to use the law to the fullest degree in any situation. Oh, it's your first live stream. Well, thanks for joining. It's for those that don't know, for those that might be new to the channel, let's say I've had a little bit of difficulties in the past talking about self-defense with guns. So that's why I'm a little bit shy about that subject. yeah, irrespective of the law, you know, I would never. Oh no, I say we want semi-auto full bores back. That's not, you know, that's sort of irrespective of the law. And well, no, it's not like I'm always going to abide by the law. And this was one of the this is one of the issues that I have is just because I may advocate something that isn't legal doesn't mean I'm going to then do it. You know, it's one thing campaigning or advocating for something and, you know, and saying like, screw you guys, I'm going to do what I want anyway, or going, look, I know what the laws are, I'm going to keep by the laws, but I'm still going to advocate for things to be different. You know, that's how laws get changed. You know, and I know this is an extreme example, but let's not forget that we used to chemically castrate homosexuals, right? That was within the law at one point, right? And there were people that got beaten up, that got put in prison for advocating against that, right? So you sort of at sometimes need to go out, you know, out there and say things that might seem controversial at the time, but fast forward a number of years, it seems normal. You know, it seems like, you know, we now know that what we used to do back in, you know, I mean, look at slavery, for fuck's sake, you know, that took quite a bit of a job to overcome, and a lot of speaking out and a lot of advocating against what the current law is. But it doesn't mean necessarily that people advocating or campaigning for changes in law are necessarily going to be breaking the law. Like that's not it. I don't have a criminal record, never been charged with anything, and I don't intend to. I like not being in prison. But anyway, that's I just people. Daniela, I'm always careful. What you're talking about? But yeah, very British. You can use a firearm or shotgun for self-defense, but you would have to be in immediate danger to your life with no way of escape. Don't think it's strictly true. The nowhere of escape. The way it is in the UK, like I'm not talking about guns in general, and I'm talking about, this is my understanding of the law. I'm not a lawyer, I'm not a solicitor, I'm not a legal expert, but my understanding of the law here in the UK is that you are able to use reasonable force to defend yourself, right? So unfortunately that leaves things a bit grey, because what one person would define as reasonable, another won't, and you're always going to be judged by your peers. So, you know, you got to think, what would an average person do in this? What would an average person think was reasonable? Unfortunately, in these sorts of situations, you don't really have that much time, and you know, and this again adds further levels of complications. But you know, if someone, let's give us, you know, someone comes up and is in your face, and you know, you grab a baseball bat and beat them to death, that's not really, you know, justified, is it? That's not really reasonable. If someone is coming at you with a knife and you grab a baseball bat and, you know, and beat them, then that's maybe more justified or more reasonable. But at the end of the day, you have to use force. You have to be in reasonable belief that you are in danger, or your family are in danger. And also, again, I'm not an expert on it. I believe we do have some castle doctrine, I think it's called, where you are allowed to defend other people if you believe that they are incapable of defending themselves. So if you are walking down the street and you see three guys stomping on someone's head and they're obviously out cold and they're about to be trampled to death, you could argue that, look, they weren't able to defend themselves, so I intervened. And it's those sort of things, but you have to be able to justify that it was reasonable force. And this coming into guns, like Very British said, in terms of the letter of the law, you can use a firearm to defend yourself. You're just not able to own a firearm to defend yourself, because then anything you own for the purposes of self-defense becomes an offensive weapon, and having it for that purpose is unfortunately, you know, illegal, whichever way you want to look at it. And you know, but the using something for self-defense, if it is reasonable, would be within the law. But again, I'm not a legal expert, and that's my general understanding of it. The best form of defense is to run away, is to be, people say it's cowardice, and certainly a lot of Americans, certainly in states that have stand your ground laws, it's I'm not moving, why should I? But it's always the most the best form of defense is to just get out of there. That's don't put yourself in situations where you're going to need to. And this is I do plan on doing like a mock CCW course out in the States. Obviously I can't get a CCW out there, but the guy that helps with all the guns out in the States does do these courses, and I've had some really interesting discussions with him before, and actually his stance on things, his the way he teaches people is very, very different to what I had imagined, and his, like talking about the threshold of when he's a CCW instructor and CCW holder. And I was like, so what, I was talking to him like, what would have to happen for you to draw your gun? And he was like, I would have to be like almost bleeding out on the floor. Like, I'm not going to draw my gun on someone for a punch, a couple of punches. It's not me worth killing someone over a couple of punches. And I was like, he lives in Kentucky, he's got the full force of the law behind him. I was like, but you would be justified in shooting someone in that situation. He said, yeah, absolutely, but that's just a personal choice of mine. I don't think it's worth doing that for that sort of level of violence. I would have to be like, right, this is it, I'm going to die if I don't do something. So and it was like very different to what I had imagined. So we try and sit down with him when we go out there and talk about it. Of course, unfortunately for me, self-defense with firearms is always a topic that will come up repeatedly. I do like to try and focus more on the sport shooting, just to keep things a little easier. Anyway, to change the subject, very good, thank you. Are there any clay ranges open down Hampshire, Wiltshire way you know of? I don't know actually. I don't think at the moment there's any open. I would highly recommend going to Spitfire clay ground in Stockbridge. I was talking about that earlier. Fantastic group of people, fantastic ground. If you want the opportunity to be instructed or to meet an Olympic gold medalist, then go to Owl Lodge Shooting School. That's in the sort of Hampshire, Wiltshire area, not too far away from me. And it's Richard Folds that runs that, and his wife, I think it's Tanya Folds. Both are Olympians. I don't know if she's won an Olympic medal, but I know he's won a gold, and he's like just hanging about there usually, so that's always good. Oxford, the Oxford Gun Company, so I think it's David Florent that runs that now. Family-owned business. Again, a super passionate guy about getting new people into shooting, getting young people shooting, and actually, whilst I think there's a lot of people that call him a bit of a Tweedy, call him, a bit of a FUD in some ways, he's really not. Like, actually going, and we spent a bit of time with him recently. We were talking about different ideas. Nothing sort of came of it at the time, COVID and all of that. But he very forward thinking for like a very traditional clay ground. Very forward thinking. Very very savvy of social media. He's got they've obviously got their YouTube channel. He used to be on Field Sports Britain, so on and so forth. So I would highly recommend going there. That's Oxford, so not necessarily Wiltshire and Hampshire. Where else are there clay grounds down here? I mean, Gosport, there's a club level clay ground in Gosport. That's a good shout. But yeah, what we talking about? Any other questions? Well, let's move on to another topic, the antique firearms regulation. So I made a video on this. I may have to go and watch that video again to make sure that there's nothing new in there. But the general gist, fair play to Basque, they've given a bit, some really good information on this. So this is the change of antique firearms regulations in 2021. And really the long and the short of it is that there's sort of an approved list of cartridges that were considered antique, and unfortunately they've found more cases of these being used in crime and people converting them, so on and so forth. So they've banned them, because obviously criminals are then going to hand everything in, but never mind, or smuggle them over from Eastern Europe. But these are effectively, as it says there, these are the guns. If you have an oddity, or what they call it, an antique curiosity, if you currently have a gun, you know, as sort of a curiosity in one of these calibers, you need to sort it. Well, you need not sort it out, but you need to go and sort it. Basically, you either need to sell it to a Section 5 dealer, donate it to a museum. I mean, Basque give you a fair amount of options, so you can do any of that. And of course, like, apply for a firearm certificate for one. So if you're already an FAC holder and you've got any of these guns as a sort of a collectible antique, then, you know, get it onto your firearm certificate, or make other measures. If you are caught in possession of one of these, and when does it come into law? I mean, that would be really useful if they showed that. 22nd of March. So, I mean, you know, Basque only leaving it 4 days until the new regulation comes in to talk about it. I mean, yeah, because like 4 days is enough time to go and contact a Section 5 dealer and, you know, apply for a firearms certificate. I give up. But anyway, so you need to be aware of it. They do actually have quite a useful flowchart here, although it can be a bit confusing. So basically, to check if you have an antique gun and it's under, you know, like the antique exemption, that, let's just say, you need to go and spend 5 minutes just making sure that it all conforms to this, and that you're not going to be in possession of a prohibited firearm. Because again, if you're an FAC holder, even though you're an FAC holder, you might be able to apply for a variation. If you don't have that variation, you're not in lawful possession of that firearm anymore. You will lose your certificates and potentially even you know, face jail time. So yeah, it's a bit of a bummer, but that's where we are. They've changed the calibers, so, you know, if you need any more sort of, let's say, expert advice, go and give Basque a call, right? Certainly if you're still a member, they'll be able to give you the right guidance and point you in the right direction. So yeah, it's a shame. Is it going to prevent crime? Absolutely not. Again, 40% of all firearms offences today are committed with handguns. So, you know, we already banned the guns that the criminals actually want, and now the ones that they're sort of occasionally getting hold of, we've made even, well, I mean, it's already illegal for them to be in possession of that and the ammunition, so we've literally just made something doubly illegal. Oh, well, triply illegal, because if someone's using it to rob someone or shoot somebody, I mean, that's illegal, and now having that gun's illegal, and of course having the ammunition is illegal. So actually what they've done, this is a new level. We have reached new levels of illegal firearms. That is a triply illegal firearm. So that must work, right? Absolutely, it must work. You can't have a firearm that is triply illegal and criminals still being... No, it's just bollocks, isn't it? You know, they're smuggling them in from from Eastern Europe. They're like, give up. Why don't we have handguns and FACs anymore? You know, yeah, it's not like after Dunblane the year after they banned handguns. It's not like gun crime rose 100%, like, because that worked, didn't it? I'd love. Isn't like up is good? Is up good? We wanting it to go up? You know, like, I can imagine that meeting, you know, after that first year of the ban. You know, but we banned them. We banned, like, that works. We banned drugs. That worked. Anyway, that's we did that last week. We don't need to do it again. Xbox One Geeks actually, yeah, talking about Dunblane. Question: are you still going to do a video on the Dunblane show / video? I have actually recorded a video. It's because of the content matter. It's something that I'm going off over a fine-tooth comb to make sure the finished video is edited, you know, there's a lot of, I'm sure you guys get this by now, but sometimes I find it difficult to say exactly what I mean, and sometimes I say things that suggest otherwise when I mean something else, and so on and so forth. Pleasures of being dyslexic. But but basically I filmed it. I'm going to take my time putting it together. The video was actually filmed prior to watching the no, it was filmed, sorry, it was filmed after the program went on air, but I was trying to get it out for this Sunday. Unfortunately, I haven't yet been able to see the program. So yeah, so what happened is, obviously I stopped the stream like bang on 9 o'clock last week, and to watch this thing on ITV, and the ITV hub bollock thing that they have online just would not work. Like, it was asking me for my postcode. I'd put my postcode in, nothing. Like, it would just reset itself, and it was in this like ever never ending cycle of asking for my fucking postcode. So I still haven't actually been able to watch it because the catch up player won't work for me. So I'm trying to find some way to watch it, and basically I was trying to get something out for Sunday. So I recorded a video more just around the facts of Dunblane, more around what's happened subsequently, and not necessarily making it about that video. From what I've heard from speaking to people, that it wasn't actually as bad as it could have been, and yes, there was an anti-gun vibe. Yes, there was a gun control sentiment in there, but I haven't seen the sort of reaction from the community that I thought I would have seen if it was the sort of video or program I thought it was going to be, if that makes sense. So yeah, I haven't managed to watch it. I do have a video though that sort of gets the overarching message of sort of what I was talking about last week. Yeah, it's in the works. It just obviously wasn't this Sunday. I will try and get it out for this coming Sunday, but we don't know. Things happen, new topics pipe up, like this antique firearm thing, you know, and it chops and change. But something will come out, because like no one's challenging it, right? And I know it seems a bit harsh, maybe a bit callous, to be challenging, you know, an event that claimed nearly 20 children, and I'm not challenging that. I'm challenging what they did after. And like I said last week, I don't disagree with the end goal. The end goal is to have no gun crime, right? The end goal is to have nobody hurt or killed by firearms. I think we can all agree with that, right? It's like no one wants that. But what we disagree with or disagree on is how to get there and how to achieve that. And that's what I'm challenging, is the methods that have been proven time and time again to only make the problem worse, and yet we still do it. And maybe it's like time to try something different, because, you know, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. And, well, that's the gun control network for you. To David Kiddle's point last week on Lorraine Kelly, probably still would, to BF. Really? No, I'd rather be a sad, lonely old man. Better education would help. Well, again, this is why, you know, no one likes to tackle this topic, because they think it's a losing argument. I'm sorry, like, and again, I know this is going to sound harsh and callous, and, you know, I can't imagine what the parents have been through. You know, I'm not a parent myself, so, you know, I'm sure maybe I'll have a better understanding potentially when I have kids. But the argument of my child dies isn't a winning argument, right? It is in the culture that is today of, you know, emotion over logic and, you know, sob stories over reality. You know, it was very tragic. It was very sad. No one wanted it. And you know, we feel for you, right? It's absolutely monstrous what happened. It's tragic. But my child dies, now I'm a gun expert, doesn't wash with me. And I don't care who, and genuinely, again, you might call me a callous arsehole, I don't care. If I get sat in front of a parent of of Dunblane, I will tell them that, like, because that's the reality, and laws should be made on reality, on logic and statistics and fact, and it doesn't, just because you've lost a child to a gun doesn't make you a gun expert, right? And the laws that you're trying to implement to prevent that issue quite well demonstrates you're not a gun expert. You have no real grasp of what the statistics and what history has been, so that's certainly not something I would relish. It certainly wouldn't be very nice to do that. I don't wish to upset anyone that's been through that sort of horrific experience, but I think we're missing too much of that in this world, where every now and again you just need to call someone out. You just go, no, sorry, this is bollocks. This makes no sense. You're basing things on emotion and not fact, right? Don't be angry with me. Don't kill the messenger. That's just the reality of the situation. But yeah, there we go. If your child was run over, do you ban all cars? Exactly, right? It's I'll give you a sort of, I guess, a vague comparison. I'm trying to think of what the ratio is, but the majority of the relatives that I've lost while I've been alive have died from cancer, right? Two of which, my granddad and grandmother on my father's side, I didn't really know, unfortunately. They both died of cancer, I believe, and my grandmother on my mother's side died of lung cancer, definitely from the smoking. And I lost, lost two aunts from cancer. I think potentially, one, I think definitely from smoking, one potentially from smoking. Do you see me going up and down the street campaigning for quit smoking, ban cigarettes? No. It's sort of a free will for people to do that. Even though I have no choice to breathe in secondhand smoke, it's just like, people do things, people can die. We can't just bubble wrap everyone, right? And cars are exactly the same. What I might campaign, if my child was, killed in a horrific accident, I would look at it and go, well, was there anything that could have been done differently? Do we need to look at what the curriculum for getting your license and passing your driving test is? Is there anything that they could include in that test that would potentially, give people the skill or ability to be able to avoid an accident like that in the future? Do we want to, slow down the speed limits? But of course, people don't look at those. So if someone was already doing 60 and a 40, does it make any difference making that a 40, making that 40 zone a 30? That's sort of really how gun crime works, well, gun control works, right? It's like, well, they were already breaking the law, so again, what we're going to do is make it doubly illegal. But yeah, you know all that. Time to make cancer illegal, that would sort it 100%. Ban cancer. What we need are cancer-free zones. Elect me as Prime Minister. I have just cured cancer. We're going to make the UK a cancer-free zone. This is going to be top of my manifesto. I'm sure this is everything someone can get behind. Cancer-free zone for the UK. We will be the first country to eradicate cancer. Praise the Lord. Well, I mean, I will give you full credit for that, Axis. So yeah. I can't believe no one has thought of this before. It's just that's just glorious. Instead of making more gun laws, how about we fix the mental health system? Again, this is a big point that I touch on in what I've recorded so far for this video on Dunblane. It's about the person. It's not about. So I'm getting a bit comfy here. Let's get into the late evening show here. A COVID-19 free zone. I mean, this is just the idea that keeps on giving. We should have a crime free zone. We should have. I mean, pretty topical at the moment. We should definitely have rape-free zones. I mean, yeah, like all crime could be just crime-free zones. Just there we go. I'll try and get hold of Boris. I'll let him know the good news. We've solved a whole host of issues. Yeah. Sorry, we were talking about something. Yeah, mental health. This is something that I touch upon quite heavily in what I filmed so far. Like, you know, one of the main points I'm making the video is so Michael Ryan, right, the first big mass shooting in the UK, the perpetrator Michael Ryan. Did you know that at the time that he applied for his FAC, it was not a requirement to have any contact with your GP, despite it being well known that he had bipolar, or he was bipolar and had mental health issues. So what did they do after 1986? Or is it 86 or 87? They made it a requirement for your GP to sign off on your application to red flag any potential mental health issues. And the thing that, and I think I showed this last week, the thing is, like, the suicide rate with firearms after that point within 10 years had halved, from literally, like, it's like it's escalating, or it's at least staying level, and then like 1987 and it just starts plummeting. And what does that tell you? Well, people that were some people that were mentally unwell had firearms when they obviously shouldn't have, like Michael Ryan. So, you know, the whole GP check looks at the person, not the gun. And funnily enough, that's what works, you know? So I'm a huge advocate for, like, the GP checks, a huge advocate for having to fulfill a probational period at a club, because the club gets to know the person. You know, they're able to know the person and go, you know, is this guy all right, or does he seem a bit odd, or, you know, does actually, like, we've had it before during freshers when we're introducing new people. As soon as someone comes up and goes, would this gun kill someone, you're like, right, you go back to the back of the queue and we'll see if we can fit you in at the end. You know, it's like, I am not being near this guy when he tries a gun for the first time, you know, and it does, that's not, you should be asking about how precise is this gun? You know, how accurate is this gun? You know, what caliber is this gun? Not, will this gun kill someone? You know, that's just, yeah, no, that's not the sort of thing you go and ask on a first taste session, you know. And it's things like that. You can, you know, like, I think it's 6 months at Kentucky Firearms Club, might be 3 months, but you have to go like a minimum amount of time, right? So, or a minimum number of times, and that gives the club a good chance. You're going to be, you know, one-on-one while you're a probational member, one-on-one with people. They're going to get to know what you're like, and it's that which will red flag if someone's not right, or someone's a bit, you know, jalali. So yeah, banning particular guns doesn't stop crime. You know, making guns harder to get hold of doesn't necessarily stop crime, but certainly looking more at the person, evaluating the person is what helps prevent crime. Or certainly and I know a lot of people call me out on this, saying the wrong type of person having a gun. Like, I think you all know what I mean by that, you know. So yeah, it's not like I want it to be this snobbish sort of, it's our club, only the right person can have a gun. It's like, no. If you take pot shots at people out of your window with an air rifle, or you're known to be bipolar, yeah, no, like, you're not. And like, someone looked up the other day and said, oh, would you stop somebody with mental health issues from having knives, or would you stop somebody with mental health issues having a car? And I was like, we do. You know, they're called mental hospitals, right? They don't allow sharp, pointy things in there. They don't, you know, and actually there's a lot of mental illnesses alongside physical illnesses that will prevent you from having a driving license or being able to drive a car. So we do that, you know. It's like, you know, I'm epileptic and someone's going to give me a pilot license. Like, no, that's not going to work. You know, just the same thing as I'm bipolar and someone's going to give me a gun license. Well, and unfortunately, I'm not saying everyone, and this is again a question that I get quite a lot. Mental illness isn't a blanket no for a firearms license, right? Because there are varying degrees of mental illnesses, right? There's a lot of mental illnesses where there is absolutely no risk of you harming yourself or anybody else, but unfortunately it is, because it's a very sort of fluid thing. You can't just, you know, depression is different between everyone. Anxiety is different between everyone, and there's different scales, and it affects people in different ways. And that's why we get our GPs involved, because it's the GPs that are able to look at it with their medical expertise and medical opinion, and to go, yes, I think this is bordering on being a risk, or no, actually, I don't see a problem here at all. And I always say, for anyone that has, you know, even things like autism or Asperger's, or you know, say specific learning difficulties, go and talk to your GP. Your GP is going to know what you're like. They're going to know how severe and how it affects you, and they're going to be the best ones in the world to be able to say whether they think that's going to make you a potential danger. And that's it. So it's not a case of, if you have any mental health issues, you shouldn't be allowed to have guns. It's about how severe is it? What are the potential potential risks there? Or if there's any risks, then, you know, potentially no. But if it's, you just get, you know, anxiety, if you're just a nervous, anxious person and suffer a bit with anxiety, and maybe struggle with, you know, people, it's like anxiety will rear its head in many different ways, and it depends how it rears its head in your particular way, you know. And again, that's how your GP will assess it. But, you know, it's quite clear that someone like Michael Ryan shouldn't have had a gun. You know, Thomas Hamilton, well, where do we start with him? Fiddling with little boys, and, you know, having his licenses taken away and then reinstated because his, you know, father knew the chief of police, and then records being sealed for 100 years. Like, yeah, and I know what you guys are all going to say, what he was involved with, or his dad was involved with, or the chief of police was. I can't go out on record and say that, because it's not confirmed. I've not. If anyone wants to email me proof, please do so. You know, I'll read anything, and I can make my own decision on whether it's real. But we all have a rough idea of what was going on there. And again, there's just layers and layers and layers of that guy shouldn't have had a gun. Derek Bird, again, another shouldn't have had a gun. And I know you say, well, it's easy to say that now, Callum, but it's no, you can. You know, it's pretty obvious. It's pretty obvious, even up to the very point that they went Delali with a gun. Like, you know, it didn't take a rocket scientist to see that those people prior to the mass shootings probably shouldn't have had a gun. But anyway, let's get on to something more positive. Unfortunately, this isn't I'll do a different topic. This is a quick one. I did a video on the Benelli Speed. Very much looking forward to this. This is so the new Benelli M2 Speed and the Supernova Speed. It's now on the Benelli website, and this is benelli.it, so the main Italian Benelli website. They sort of did a sneak peek of them. It was up for about half an hour and then came down. Well, this is the new M2 Speed. There's a full video on this, but there is a lot more information about it now. So you can go and read all the sexy details and look at all the sexy pictures. There wasn't actually that much of the M2 Speed that I had in terms of photos, so that maybe gives you a better idea of what it's going to be. It looks. I think this is just going to absolutely win the PSG game. Like, it's going to go straight to the top. It's going to absolutely demolish the competition in terms of let's see if I can find it. It's going to demolish the competition in terms of out of the box race ready. That's just my opinion. And oh, come on, let's go pump shotguns. It's the Nova. there we go, Nova Speed, and the Nova Speed as well. So you've got a pump Nova Speed, and you've got a semi-auto M2 Speed. Again, very similar sort of modifications on both, very similar look, and all of the technical tech specs and all that are available on the website now, so you can go and see everything. I'm, again, very much looking forward to this. I think it's going to be not necessarily I think I said game changer, didn't I? I mean, people have been doing out of the box ready shotguns for a while, so it's not necessarily a game changer, but I don't think anyone's really done it properly. Certainly not to this level. You know, the extended chokes, the extended magazine, the pretty. I mean, you can see how deep that port is. The port cut. You know, a deep port cut, enlarged controls, and a whole host of other changes as well. So very much looking forward to that. That's very much on my highlights for this year. As soon as I get my hands on one, I will of course do a video. Now something a little less positive. Again, I did a whole post on this the other day. We're up to 7,000 now. Still not enough. If you're watching this, I'm actually how do I get the? I'm going to put the link in the chat. Let me try and just find it. I'm going to find it on the different. Oh no, got to find it on the other computer. I'm actually my video's come up. I'm going to have to use my own video to be able to find the petition. So just anyone watching this stream right now, sorry, I'm not giving you much context here, but I'm going to put a petition in the chat group. If you're watching the stream right now, if you have already gone and signed this, thanks. You know, the club, well, myself, grateful, and also any members of this range. But the long and the short of it is there's a whole video if you want to learn more. But the range is under threat. They need to apply for planning permission, which has been so far okay until there was an MOD exercise, which they're being attributed to, and obviously nothing to do with. And there's a nearby Tibetan, well, I say nearby, there's a Buddhist monastery 2 miles away, right, from the range, from the firing point, and the locals have got, well, I think I potentially gave the wrong impression in the video that I did, which it was the monks that were opposed to it. I don't think the monks have actually come out and said anything. I'm pretty sure it's all of the locals with nothing better to do that have got angered on their behalf, and they're using, you know, it's basically the old grumpy locals are getting irate about the shooting range, and they're using the monks as an excuse, right? Because the range is 2 miles away from the monastery. Now, I work during the summer. There's a playground near us. It's 0.8 miles away. We can have the door and windows open, and you can hear a, you know, slight in the distance, right? That's 0.8 of a mile away, right? 2 miles away, it's going to be just like, if the wind's blowing, there's just no way you're going to hear anything. So yeah, anyway, the counter petition, I think, is up to like 15,000. So please, that link, please share it, please go and sign it if you haven't already done so. Again, thank you if you have already. But yeah, this is something that we need to get behind and I think support as a community. So that's yeah. But if you want to learn more about it, there's the full video on it. Some more bad news. I said I was going to talk about this one. Obviously, within sort of countryside pursuits, in terms of, you know, game shooting, rough shooting, dogs are a big part of the shooting world. You know, obviously on a game day, you're going to see a Labrador, you're going to see a Spaniel. It's just an absolute given. And I've actually noticed, like, shooting aside, I've noticed a lot of, like, even in the immediate area where I live, there's been a number of incidents where, you know, dogs have tried to be snatched. People have tried to get dogs from over the fences out in the back gardens. So it's just a message, and this is happening countrywide. just be careful. If you're a dog owner, there's certain things you can do to just be sure, having them chipped, having microchipped, you just got to have that straight away, not just for thefts, but they end up escaping or they get lost. But don't leave your dog in the back garden and pop down the shop, or it's to the point where we won't even I won't even let them outside into the garden and then come up to film a video. I will, if they're out in the garden, someone's always able to see them, because people are, in a split second, they're reaching over fences. I mean, my 2 dogs, you give them a treat and they'll be straight to the fence and almost trying to jump over it into their arms. It's very easy to get a dog's attention. It's very easy to get them close enough to snatch them, and in a second they're gone. We've seen people smash into people's houses, to steal dogs. We've seen people baiting them while on walks. We've seen people snatch them from owners' hands with leads. This seems to be and of course the most famous story recently is Lady Gaga's bodyguard. I know that's sort of a weird sort of a weird side step there, bringing Lady Gaga into it, but her dog walker was shot several times for her dogs. That's it's crazy. Obviously, if you have purebreds, they're going to be at higher risk because they are, more valuable. They're not more desirable. But any dog, and the thing that really petrifies me about it, obviously, your dog being stolen is not exactly the nicest thing, but it's when they end up using them for bait. They end up putting on dog fights with them. It doesn't even begin. I don't want to even imagine what ends up happening there. So just something to be aware of. Make sure you're not being blasé with where your dogs are. Try not to leave them on their own for too much. Try and take them with you if you can. I know that's not always possible. And also don't advertise. If you've got a purebred, a Crufts pedigree breed, and you're posting pictures all over Facebook groups and Facebook and all that, you just like with guns, it's the same thing. Treat your dog like a gun. Don't give away where you are with them. Don't give away where you walk with them. Don't give away that they might be in the back garden on their own. Be sensible about it. But it is unfortunately a growing problem and something that we need to watch. And I never want to see anybody's. I'm a huge dog person, huge animal person. It doesn't warrant thinking about. More positive news. We're going up and down here. It's a legal requirement in the UK to have your dog chipped. Well, definitely get your dog chipped. I mean, both of our 2 are rescue dogs, and they the RSPCA did it as standard. So I didn't actually know it was. What are you smoking? Nothing. I'm drinking. I didn't actually know it was a legal requirement, but yeah. So make sure you do have it done. Why are they stealing people's doggies? Money. Puppies, you can get 200, well, for your average breed puppy, a few £100. If it's a sort of a pedigree, then you can be taught. I mean, there's some dogs that are £5,000-10,000. A puppy can be £5,000-10,000. A spaniel, say, from a well-trained mother or whatever, hundreds and hundreds of pounds per puppy. So someone breaks in your back window and takes a litter of puppies, you might make away with 5-6 puppies. If they're going for £200-300 each, and if they're puppies, they haven't been chipped, so, or they potentially haven't had the chance to be chipped, so they're gone into the night. You're never going to find them again. It's very hard to prove the identity of a dog without a chip. So that's why they're going after puppies, or they're using them for for illegal dog fighting, or they're stolen to order, so on and so forth. So there's a huge black market in stolen dogs. You hear of loads of vans being stopped going, usually going over to Ireland, being stopped with loads of dogs in the back. Because they've come and done the rounds here. There we go, Gareth Cooper. Lorry stopped on the way to Ireland with over 100 stolen dogs in. So, you know, and you might think, well, again, 100 dogs, that doesn't sound a lot. But if you can get 200 quid per, like, it's, you know, to some low life criminal scum, that's a nice payday. And they don't care. Oh, Colin, you said Colin, not Callum. Ha. That makes a lot more sense. Well, what is Colin saying? My German Shepherd will have their hand off. I do actually have a quick dog story. It's my mum's old boss had staffies, right? And I used to. It's sort of weird. They were at the. I was at the feeder school for where him and my mum worked, and he actually lived on the school. In the school, it was Dauncey's in Devizes, and I went to school with his children as well. So you know, we'd get picked up, and I would end up spending an hour or two at their house, waiting for my mum to finish work, and then we would head off home. But he had two staffies, and they were like the most like over friendly dogs I have ever encountered. They would people were worried about being bitten to death by them. They would be licked to death. They could turn vicious, and we witnessed it a couple of times and all that. But he had this old boy staffy who was like old and crusty at the time, and didn't have long left. And he used to say, don't be fooled. He had his days. And there's this, and he told us this story. He was from Northern Ireland. I don't think lived in a particularly good area, hence having this staffy. And they'd gone out for the evening, and come back to find the rear kitchen window had been jimmied open. An instant thought was, oh, okay, we've been robbed. Like, we've been burgled. We've had everything stolen. Until he found 3 fingers in the sink. So needless to say, I can't remember what the dog's name was. But needless to say, he got a very good treat that evening, and nothing was stolen, and the criminal left with less than he turned up with. So yes, dogs can be a very good deterrent and security measure. Especially dogs, like staffies, like Rottweilers, Dobermans, German Shepherds. I mean, look, the police use German Shepherds across the world because they're great for training and do the job very well. All dogs have gone up in price. £2,000 for a pedigree. Again, you end up. You're walking down the street and you see a dog in a garden and you see it's a pedigree. That's a 2k payday. That's actually more money than snatching someone's phone out of their hand or potentially stealing someone's wallet, because people don't tend to carry a huge amount of cash anymore. Yes, you might have a £1,000 phone in your pocket, but a £2,000 dog, they're going to take the dog, because actually you can't, again, chips aside, although you can remove the chips. A dog is easy to sell being untraceable with, say, an iPhone. If I get my iPhone nicked, I just log into the what do they call it, the iCloud, into iCloud, and disable the phone, and Apple can go even further and effectively self-destruct the phone and make it unusable. You can't do that with a dog, and I certainly have a lot more of an emotional connection with my dog than I do my phone. So yeah. My FEO was impressed by the German Shepherds. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, dogs are a good deterrent. I mean, even I've got 2 terriers. Are they the best security dogs in the world in terms of if someone gets in the house? No, they're not. They're not going to do anything really. But just the barking, you will be surprised how many potential burglars, robbers, whatever, thieves will be put off by a house just because they can hear barking. Like, they don't want to find out if it's a Yorkshire Terrier or a German Shepherd, or a Rottweiler, right? They don't want to take that risk. They hear barking and they're like, there's a good chance I'm getting bitten if I go in there. I'll go next door where I can't hear any barking. So yeah, lots of dogs can be 5k plus now. Yeah, so that's why there's a black market. You can actually, it's probably more expensive to buy a dog on the black market than it is a firearm. How crazy is that? Any idea when the new Home Office firearms law guide will be released? Not that I'm aware. I have a couple of contacts that will probably have a good idea. They will probably be heavily involved in it. But yeah, I don't know myself. At least they will have DNA and fingerprints. That's a good point. You know, it's ready to go. I mean, you know, you want to take his fingerprint? It's all yours. Out of interest, is it possible for a person who has a psychiatric condition to drive? Oh, sorry. Of interest, it is possible for a person who has a psychiatric condition to drive. They must notify the DVLA, but the condition is not necessarily an absolute no. So again, it's varying degrees, isn't it? So I'm not saying people that have a psychiatric, like anyone that has a psychiatric or psychiatric problem or issue, or any mental health issues, is instantly going to be banned from driving. But we do restrict, in extreme or serious cases, we do restrict the use, and again, the DVLA will most likely make a judgment call on that. But yes, no, thank you for clarifying. Vanessa, my phone is a tool. My dogs are part of my family. My cat is 23 years old. He's he reeses the dog still. What do you mean reeses? Or am I just reading that wrong? 20. I think we had 3 cats when I was a kid, and I think the oldest made it to 18, 19. So doing bloody good for 23, that's for sure. And yes, absolutely. Some people, and I don't disagree with this. I don't think it's wrong, but some people view dogs as a tool, right? Look at the hounds on a fox hunt. They're kept outside. They're kept in very, just plain concrete kennels. They're used as a tool, and there's a lot of shooters as well that do that. They don't have necessarily and I'm not saying this is true, but there are some. This is always true, but there are some cases where it's just like, no, this dog is here to do a job, right? And it's useless to me if it doesn't do that job. I don't want it for any other reason. But yes, for us, although they get the occasional rat, our 2 are very much part of the family. And yeah, and I know, we're talking about previous topics last night, not last night, earlier. I would use the fullest extent to the law to be able to protect my dogs, and I would use as much as I was allowed to protect the dogs as I would any other family member. That's they can't be replaced. And anything else can. Valuables, electronics, it's all replaceable. Living things are not. Anyway. Oh, tease. He teases the dog still. Yeah, we had a cat like that. Actually, when we had the 3 cats, they ruled. I had my childhood dog was a German Shepherd Border Collie cross, but he was, in terms of size, was more on the German Shepherd size, but had like the temperament of a Border Collie, and the cats just walked all over him. The cats ruled the roost. We can buy tigers. Nobody fucks with a tiger. I mean, that would be. I would like to test that out. Like, have a room that's no safe, no lock, just the guns leant up against a wall, but there's a tiger inside, and say to the FEO, "Do you think I need a safe? Do you want to go in and inspect it?" No, that's fine. I think I've passed then, haven't I? Anyway. Oh, that was nearly a fizzer. Gareth Cooper, my boy's a ratter, but he's sat here on my lap. Again, I'm not saying you can have a work dog and you can have a personal connection. You can have a work dog and still treat them like part of the family. But there's different. Some people don't. Some people do. Some people purely have a dog as part of the family. Some have them purely as a work dog, and some people do both. It's I'm not going to say either method or strategy is wrong. I think the another 100 likes Connor's shooting when? No. No, that's not. Only Connors has to be here for that to happen. He's not even in chat, so no, that doesn't happen. And plus, we've grown since then. The bar has to be risen, right? And it's, you know, we'll see. We will be getting Connors back at some point. I promise. It will happen. He will come back on the stream. He is missing it. He's asking like, what can we do? What can we sort out? What, you know. And we're trying to work something out, so we're getting him on as soon as possible. But yeah, the another thing that I want to talk about so I've talked about it on a few streams, but just to remind you, I'm going to get it up on the screen. We've got the modern shooting show. So the first the first show of the year is going to be the modern shooting show, and this is, I don't actually know the dates off of the top of my head, but let's that's why I'm going here. 26th of June, so not actually that far away. This is going to come up pretty quickly, but it's going to be at Newbury Racecourse on the 26th of June. I know the organisers of this. It's Caliber Innovations. It's the same people that do Kentucky Firearms Club, Caliber Innovations, and even a lot of the crew that does American Shooting Trips. So very much have missed the shows over the past year. This is the modern shooting show. It's going to be all about, all about practical. It's not just about practical. It's just maybe the newer types of shooting, the modern types of firearms, and not necessarily just like a shotgun show, and I'm sure you all know what I mean by that, but I do enjoy all shows. So under 16s are free, adults are £5, and you get a free patch. There's going to be a limited edition patch, which I have actually already seen. I've had a bit of a sneak peek. Let's see who's on. It's growing. So obviously Magload, we've agreed to be there. Again, we get on with the Caliber guys so well, so as soon as they said they were going to do this show, we were like, absolutely. So Caliber Innovations, Magload, New Prol, Aim Right, Attack Sense, Cotswold Classic Arms. So anyone that wants to see a Battle Arms, anyone that wants to see potentially even the Antreg Zenith, the CZ clone, or say replica long barrel pistol, that will all be there. Also many other different builds that Otto does at Cotswold Classic Arms, so that will be awesome. M9 Engineering does loads of different modifications from the 1911, does all different components and upgrades. So again, another one. Westlake, I mean, sort of the Westlake name needs no introduction, but it's Alan Westlake. It's going to be the Alpha revolvers, the muzzle loading revolvers, and Browning Buttmark LBPs. Fascinating guy. If you go to this show and literally just go and spend 10 minutes at the Alan Westlake or Westlake Engineering stand and talk to Alan Westlake about the history of long barrel pistols and muzzle loading revolvers and what, just have a 5-10 minute conversation with the guy. He's just interesting beyond belief, and passionate, and he's also like a cheeky old boy, and I know he hasn't always been an old boy, but he's like, when he was interviewed for during the Target shooting show, he was like, yeah, like, I didn't like what the law was, and I was going to try my hardest to give something that gave us handguns again, so created the LBP. Guncraft, so the 22WMR Guncraft, they do a whole host of other guns as well, so good selection already, and I've been told that there's going to be a load more, so I'll be there 100%. So if you want to come down, please do. It should be a pretty awesome show. And combined with that, there are 3 trips that I don't know. I think one of them's not 100% confirmed yet, but I'm pretty sure is going ahead. So some of you will know that we're going away to America in October with American Shooting Trips. That's going to be absolutely insane. I'm going to be filming all of that as we go through, so keep your eyes out. If any American viewers, subscribers are going to be, we're going to start in Chicago, drive down to Texas, drive across to Carolina, through Tennessee into Kentucky. So anyone sort of along that sort of very convoluted path, I know we've already got a stop confirmed in Texas. We're going to be spending a couple of days there. We've got a stop confirmed in Birmingham, Alabama, and obviously Kentucky. But anywhere on the way or on those points, if anyone wants to sort of meet up, or you want to go spend some time around the range, or you think there's something that we absolutely have to see while we're there, it doesn't necessarily have to be guns, but something you think that, you know, while we're in that area we should absolutely see, then drop me an email. I would love to sort of meet up with some American subscribers and viewers of the channel. That would be absolutely awesome. So that's in October. I believe there are still a few spaces left. It's £1,000 for the shooting package. Flights are about 500 quid, and accommodation, well, we managed to get you know, a pretty sweet deal on Airbnb. I would say Airgun BBS. No, that's a shooting forum on Airbnb. But there's other like motels nearby, so it's for the amount of shooting and the shooting experience you have, it's like one of the cheapest ways to go out there, and it's been run for many years. They know what they're doing, and it's always a great trip. Certainly everyone I've been on have come away with a massive smile. So that's in October. A trip that I believe is confirmed is if you want to go to Châteauroux in France. It's where the Shotgun World Shoot was held in 2018, I think it was. That's in June, so that's with the Shooting Travel Club. That's also the guys from American Shooting Trips and Caliber and Kentucky Firearms Club. So basically get in contact with David Kiddle or the Caliber guys or the KFC guys, or you know, but they do have a page. It's the Shooting Travel Club, and it's a handgun trip. So if you want to go out and shoot handguns out in France, then get in contact with the Shooting Travel Club, David Kiddle. And he talked to me today. I might get in a bit of trouble for saying this because I don't know if it's 100% confirmed, but the Netherlands trips, so the Dutch trips that I did a number of years ago now, shooting Glocks. We got our hands on an Uzi, on an FAL, and you know, semi-auto ARs, all sorts. But the main thing was shooting Glock handguns. That he's doing another trip of that. I think it's going to be in the same place, and it was Eindhoven that we went. So it was a great trip. Didn't take that long to drive out. So we both times drove out there and then drove back, and it was a great weekend. It was like a 2-3 day trip. I think it would cost about £350, and it was again a great amount of shooting for the money. So I really enjoyed those trips, and hopefully I can go on both the June and that's in September. So the Netherlands trip's in September, the France trip is in June. I'm hoping to be able to go out to both of them because it's going to be great content for you guys. I haven't shot a full bore handgun in quite a while now, so I'd like to break off the rust before going out to Kentucky in October. But yeah, I'm going to try and get out to both of them. And whilst I've already been on a trip to the Netherlands to this range, it was such a nice experience that I want to do it again. So we'll see. So yeah, if any of you are interested, you can drop me an email, but get in contact with either American Shooting Trips or the Shooting Travel Club on Facebook, and they'll be able to sort you out. Should be an awesome few trips. And there's loads of videos on the channel about it. If you want to go and see the Netherlands trips or any previous American shooting trips, then go on the channel, type it in the search from the channel, and you'll find it. Tom D, is a semi-auto better than a pump? Depends if your name's Bill Moore or not, because we know what his answer would be. Up the pumpers. Looking at prices on Gun Trader now, Supernova is half the price of an M2. This is actually one of the biggest considerations that people have for the divisions that they shoot. Open division is the I hate money division, because it really is a race for equipment. Like the equipment really makes it makes a huge difference. I think a bigger difference than any other division. But yeah, there's less going on with a pump. They're easier to make. They're easier, it's pretty easy to make a reliable pump. When I say pretty easy, it's easier than say a semi-auto. There's a lot more going on. So in terms of your definition of better, Is a semi-auto better than a supernova? I would say, is an M2 better than a supernova? An M2 is probably more complex. There's probably more design and complexity in that design. But it's really down to you. It depends what you like, what you want to shoot. And personally, I think a semi-auto is better. I enjoy shooting standard division more than other divisions. But then for some things, a pump is going to be a lot better. So it's really what you want to do. It's personal preference. You're going to get people who say pumps are better, and people that shoot semis are going to say semis are better. That's people that shoot open are just going to be sat in the corner setting fire to their money. NRA. The thing is, and I learned this. I mean, the NRA isn't like in any way an official league, apart from it being the NRA league. If you want, like, really the creme de la creme, the top of practical shooting here within the UK is IPSC. It is across the world. It's the International Practical Shooting Confederation. It's, arguably 3-gun is maybe as international, but I really think IPSC is the most international practical shooting sort of discipline / organization. So it's the UK PSA. If you want to do anything practical, if you want to do mini rifle, shotgun, a practical shotgun, you want to do LBP shooting in an IPSC scenario, then it's the UK PSA. The NRA have their very own set of rules. They do them up and down the country, and they do them at Froome, do them at Bisley, do them at Silverstone Shooting Centre, and they have their big league. The quality of match, and I don't want to necessarily, there's a couple of people that are heavily involved in certainly the practical shotgun, and they are extremely passionate about the sport and extremely passionate about moving it forward. And I don't want to belittle their efforts, but the UK PSA, the biggest issue with the NRA matches is that the people running the practical matches at the NRA are always having an uphill fight with the NRA. Like, the NRA doesn't like practical, right? Whether they say that or not, it's just blatantly true. And they constantly put practical at the back foot. They constantly make all different sorts of hurdles for it, all sorts of stipulations. And I do really, I'm not going to name them, but if they ever watch this, they're going to know who they are, and I'm sure a lot of you will know who I'm talking about. Pretty much the main person responsible at the NRA for those practical matches. I do feel for them quite a lot, because actually they do a hell of a lot for the sport. Their intentions are absolutely golden, and from what I hear, they're in a constant uphill battle. So this isn't necessarily their fault, but the UK PSA are all about practical. So all of the clubs get huge support. The clubs are all about practical. So they just end up putting on higher quality matches. Having said that, Costello Heath Challenge, I know some people weren't particularly happy with it last year, but it's still an epic match. It's still, a load of stages. It's a grueling day. You're going to get, 150-yard slug targets to, a 5-meter popper. So on and so forth. So you're going to get a huge variety, that probably more of a variety than you're going to get at actually an IPSC or UK PSA match, just because of the space that they have available to them. But the quality of matches under IPSC and the UK PSA, from what I have seen, are better. And the rule book is consistent and fair, which is what you want, really. So yeah, I would highly recommend going the IPSC route, basically. Any news on the JK Auto Lifter? Is that directed at me? I did actually buy their latch, the 2-piece latch that I want to get fitted and have a bit of a play with, because that looks like that's one of the main advantages of the SP over the Field. Although I say to people, go and get the Benelli M2 Field and trick it out like a like an SP, because you're going to end up saving a bit of money. The one thing that makes a huge difference on the SP is the 2-part latch to loading. It just makes it so much easier, and it's very hard to retrofit it, or nigh on impossible to retrofit a 2-piece latch from the SP into the standard Field. So I can see that 2-piece latch from JK, J Kenny and Co, being very, very popular. France would be great, but waiting for the vaccine before going. Yeah, but you are in the 30 bracket, Daniel, so you should get it sooner than I should. Right. Daniela, sorry, I had a momentary lapse. I forgot your pronouns, Daniela. There we go. Very, very sorry. Forgive me. Well, I'm gonna have to say, well, before I say this, hit the like button if you're watching this and you haven't already hit the like button. Hit the like button if you're watching this and you haven't already subscribed. Subscribe. We do this every week, half 7, every Thursday. Sometimes it's a little bit more tame than this evening, and sometimes a little bit more wild, so we like to mix it up. But I think I'm pretty much going to end it there. But before you all leave, please hit the subscribe button, hit the like button. For anyone new watching, thanks for joining. I hope you have enjoyed it. For all you regulars out there, all you retrobates, thanks for joining. And as always, it's been a good evening. It's been, I think, a fairly tame evening this evening, fairly sensible as these streams go. But yeah, we'll be looking forward to the next one. In terms of videos going out, of course, I am working on the Dunblane video. I want that to be right. If I can't get it right, I might not release it, but it is in the work. I am trying to get it out. I'm gonna be making a detailed video on the what do they call it? It's the force reset trigger. Because it's just, again, so many people seem to be interested in terms of the law of the binary trigger, and there's somebody that I can actually get pretty good advice from that knows their way around the firearms law here within the UK. So I'll be doing a full video on that, a full video on the modern shooting show. I'll be meeting up with the organisers, getting a few more bits of information to do that video, and I might even just condense what the general topic of this evening about, cost of shooting, and get that into a condensed video. So we'll see how it goes, and yeah, obviously keep subscribed to try and put out as much content as possible for you guys. But yeah, thanks everyone, really appreciate it. Everyone that's donated, that's supported the channel. Well, everyone that's watched, liked, subscribed, and just chatted tonight, you've supported the channel in some way. But certainly everyone that's donated, again, thank you very much for all of your support. So yeah, we'll be here same time, same place next week, 7:30. Thanks again, guys, and as always, I hope to see you soon.